Very good morning to students. Today we are going to learn on mine ventilation surveying, the in the part of the mine environmental engineering subject. This is a mine view at mine site. It is a surveying going on with the gas testing meter, the part of quality service concern. Today topic is ventilation surveying in mine ventilation environmental engineering part. Object of ventilation survey is a topic in which can able to study in quantity survey, particularly in a duct, and also how much quantity is a particular area. Pressure is also important. So from the main fan to the uh, from particular location, how to know about the uh, quantity, pressure. So by various instruments, that is the basic objectives, and also other parameters also you are going to learn in this lecture. So these are the objectives. Define ventilation surveying, explain the objective of ventilation surveying, list the different components of ventilation surveyings. These are you can able to know after completion of this lecture. Ventilation survey. The ventilation survey is carried out to investigation uh, into the ventilation system of mine and to find out the adequacy of the ventilation system. Also, the survey is carried out to determine the points of leakage, the extent of leakage, and the steps necessary for further improvement. So these are the basic our motto to investigate in a ventilation network the particular locations leakages can be identified so that dropping of the pressure also can identify to take the remedial measures to effectiveness to reach the wastage of the main fan ventilation circuit. To determine the fire damp content of mine air by flame safety lamp or other detectors, systematic sampling and chemical analysis of air at strategic points in the roadways and working phases, to determine the pressure drop from point to point, to determine horsepower absorbed in each section of a mine, to ascertain distribution of air throughout the mine in main roads, splits and move particularly in working phases of each districts, to locate leakages between the intake to return and enables steps to be taken for their removal elimination. In fan testings and pressure surveying to enable calculations of HP, horsepower, efficiency, resistance, and velocity corrections to be made. So this is the basic behind the uh, eliminations of to know the fan testings calculations of the HP efficiency, resistance, velocity through objective will be fulfilling by the ventilation survey. Following are the different components of the ventilation survey. Quantity surveying. This involves the measurement of air velocity and quantity of air flowing in various parts of the mine. The quantity, this is a quantity survey, pressure survey. Quality survey is exclusive for the mine gases concern. In quantity survey, this involve the measurement of air velocity and quantity of air flow in various parts of the mine. Pressure survey. This involves the determination of the pressure drop from the point to point and stretch having unusually high pressure drop. So these two are the very important is concerned. And qualitative survey, they already these things are already happening by flame safety lamp, methanometer, multi-gas detectors you are already conducted. There is a quality survey concerned. This involves determination of the fire damp content at a different strategic points in the mine, and chemical analysis of the air samples if necessary. If the fire damp content in the general body of return air of a ventilated district exceeds 0.75%, the ventilation is considered to be inadequate. Following are the instruments used to determine the mine environment conditions in ventilation survey. Following are the instruments used to determine the mine environmental condition in ventilation survey. Temperature. Temperature thermometer. Pressure. Barometer, water gauge for mine fans. Relative humidity. Hygrometer. Cooling power. Carter thermometer. Velocity. Smoke method. Velometer. Anemometer. Percentage of gases. Gas detectors. So these are the instruments we are using for the environmental point of view. For example, you need to the temperature. Then you go to a danger thermometer. Pressure, you have to measure by the pressure barometer, water gauge, and mine fans. For mine fans concern, relative humidity. There is a Welling hygrometer. What is the cooling power particular location? Go to the Cotta thermometer. Velocity of air. There is a general method of smoke method is there. Velorimeter is there. Anemometer is there. Smoke method is when sending the smoke to one place to other man. The reaching time they calculated. Um, this one velorimeter is a mission against the wind direction. So wheel rotation capacity. Can just similarly anemometer also. So gas detector the percent of gas. These are the most of the environmental conditions ventilation survey conducting equipments. Object of pressure survey. It shall be conducted for the determination of the pressure drop from point to point and stretch have unusual high pressure drop. Measurement of ventilating pressure. Ventilation pressure is not a single pressure. It is a difference between two pressures. This difference of pressures causes the air to flow from one place to other. The instrument used to measure the pressure are 14 barometer, anaerobe barometer, water gauge, Pitot tube for pressure measurement. Ventilation pressure is not a single pressure. It is a difference between the two pressure. Difference pressures cause a airflow from one place to another. So these are the instrument popular using. They one by one discussing below. This barometer is this is a standard form barometer being used in scientific work for accurate measurement of the atmospheric pressures at a given place. It consists of a straight glass tube and about 920 mm long and about 8 mm inside diameter. The upper end of the tube is a sealed and lower end is a open. This lower end is a dipped into the small box wood mercury having soft leather base and adjusted a screw and a plate beneath the flexible bottom enable the level of mercury. In the citron to be adjusted when the instrument is to move, plate may be raised until lower end of the tube is sealed. Before any reading is taken, the level of mercury must be adjusted so that surface of the mercury just touch in Anwari white. This represents the a level from which the height of the mercury column must be measured. Along side of the tube near the top, a scale and a vernier are mounted. For 10 barometer, this is scale and vernier uh, enable the reading to be made to be nearest millimeter. The instrument is much more portable than the mercury barometer for determining of level. It is used for certain type of ventilation surveys also. The term aneroid means the instrument that does not contain the liquid. So here it's showing that instrument here very clearly. Generally, barometer two steps. There is a mercurial barometer. There are another is a Frotin barometer. This is our studying. This is simple and accurate instrument for measuring the atmospheric pressure. So this is the uh, a scale is there, main scale, as well vernier scale is there. Screw to adjustable vernier, barometric tube, mercury, brass tube. This is the pointer. It's moving against what that is a level back. So mercury level, the screw adjustable mercury level is given here. So this is leather bag, glass. So this is the functioning of the Frotin, Frotin barometer is concerned. Vernier scale, screw to adjust vernier, screw to adjust to vernier, protecting brass tube, barometer tube, mercury, ivory pointer, glass, leather bag, screw to adjust mercury level, Frotin barometer. So Enroid barometer. This is another barometer. The metal spring is there. This is a pointer chain. The lever is partially evacuated box. This is called aneroid barometer. This is the box, vacuum chamber, lever, spindle, aneroid cell is there. Scale is rotating. The pressure is showing. Most of the uh, in pumps and there is these type of instruments are used for the pressure to measuring of pressure is gauge concern. Aneroid barometer, anchor bar, spring, fixed pivots, lever, Krug cylinder of thin metal. There is a lever. So it is a construction is based on the principles of Boyle's law. Simple barometer is concerned is Boyle's law. According to Boyle's law, as a given gas increasing volume as the pressure falls and decreasing the pressure rise when the temperature remain constant, the aneroid barometer makes use of this principle. It consists of the hollow tight gas-filled box made of the thin spring, corrugated metal and prevented from the collapsing by means of a strong flat spring. As the pressure rises or decreases, this metal box expands or contracts accordingly. This is transmitted and magnified through a system of levers and links to the pointer on a scale which reads the atmospheric pressure. The scale is graduated to read pressure from 700 to 800 mm mercury. The adjusting instrument must be calibrated with a mercury barometer from time to time. When the subject to sudden changes of pressure, it is liable to give inaccurate reading, and time must always be allowed for it adjust itself to the new condition before reading is taken. Measurement of ventilating pressure. The static pressure may be measured by several ways. By YouTube gauge have one leg exposed to the atmosphere and other in the fan drift, as shown in the ABC in figure in the YouTube project, two projected into the drift at right angle to the direction of the airflow and is provided within thin sharp edges flat disc called as a D tips is showing here. So B receive is cut the side of the drift and is closed by smooth metal plate which flush with the drifting side uh, and perforated with a small hole at C is showed a hooked tube sealed at the point and provided with four small holes without barrel. This has an advantage that it is furnishes the maximum reading when they correctly aligned in the air current. All three methods give the reasonably accurate results. On the other hand, a plain ended tube like D invariably gives incorrect results. To low reading with a compressing fan and too high with an exhausting fan. Measurement of ventilation pressures to the total pressures. Fan pressure is measured correctly by facing tube as shown in a T with an open end of the tube facing in the windward. It is a pressure that must always be used with the calculating HP of the air or when determining the efficiency of the fan. It is sometimes, however, convenient and more accurate into the true length and gusty nature of the airflow in the drift of air to measure the average static pressure and make allowance for the velocity of pressure by calculation from the observation means of air velocity. So this is the inclined manometer. Uh, these can be measured by pressure drops. This is the pressure to be measured at P1. This is the P2 area A2. Original level is here. So from this we have to some angle inclined manometer. This angle will be decided. So D is a graduated scale. This is the elevated area difference between these two. So here also same showing here. Measurement of ventilation pressures with the inclined manometer. Uh, Generally, in a duct, for example, this is a direct total pressure hole is a but it will be applied. The static pressure can also be you have to calculate it. This is static pressure. This is velocity pressure. So duct static pressures are these are the duct static pressures, and these are the velocity pressures. These are the velocity pressures. So total pressure equal to A minus B. A plus B. That is a static pressure as well as velocity pressure. So the monometric will be read A plus B. That is a value given across the holes of the duct. So indirectly we have to measure the remain two factors. This is the principle behind the inclined manometer for the duct ventilation pressure pointer. The water gauge produced by fan is our mind is small, varying between 25 mm. Underground auxiliary fans or booster fans is measured by YouTube with inclined limbs and necessary corrections applied to the chronometer observation inclined water gauge reading to vertical water gauge reading. For the measurement of water gauge smaller than 50 mm, an inclined water gauge is a general used. The reading is converted to equivalent to vertical water gauge as follows. Vertical water gauge equal to L into sine alpha, where alpha is the angle of inclination with the horizontal. L is the inclined reading of the manometer. So the L will be getting. So we apply the alpha value from incline. So manometer can be made more sensitive by using lighter liquid instead of water alcohol. The vertical water gauge is in the vertical. This is another example of water gauge is equal to L sin alpha into W, where W is the specific gravity of the particular liquid. If you use alcohol or the other mercury is a different. So this is standard formula for inclined barometer is concerned. Inclination of the water gauge is conveniently adjusted sine of angle. Inclined water gauge can be read up to the 0.2 mm and in some cases of even up to 0.02 mm depending upon the scale gradations. Equipment used in pressure survey. It is used to measure the difference of air pressures between the 2 points. In its simplest form, it consists of the glass U-tube mounted on a wooden frame and partially filled with water, both end of the tube being open. The water gauge shown in the figure consists of the two separate glass tubes which are connected to their lower end. Water is placed filling partially the two legs of U. In the connecting passage, there is a tap with a small bore to minimize the oscillation of water column. The tap may be closed if desired when the reading is to be taken. So water gauge, this is a generally man fan and the surface fans. It is established to getting easily understandable through water gauge meters. Simply YouTube meters. The pressure will be difference can be easily identified. One leg A is open to the outside atmosphere. That is the atmosphere pressure will be acting always in that one. Another B is a leg open to the air to the fan drift. So this is the basic principle. One is open to atmosphere, another open to the fan drift. That is the A column and the B column. Water level rises in the corresponding leg depending upon the difference of pressure between the atmospheric air and the fan drift air. The difference of the pressures measured on a calibrated scale fixed to the wooden frame. Initially, before the reading is taken, the zero of the scale is adjusted to the level of water with the help of an adjusting screw. A water gauge, a difference of the 1 mm of water gauge, represent pressure difference 1 kg by meter square. In a place in the fan drift, one end is connecting to the atmosphere and other in a fan drift, very near the fan towards the mine. The term pressure is used in mine ventilation with falling deferment. Static pressure (PS). This is a pressure exerted by moving fluid on a surface parallel with the direction of the movement. Velocity pressure (PV) equal to this is the pressure exerted by the fluid by virtue of its motion and it varies within the square of the its velocity. PV is equal to V square by 2G. This is a generalized formula. The term pressure is used by ventilation for static pressure is very important. This pressure exerted by the moving fluids on the surface parallel with the direction of movement. Velocity pressure is a virtue of its motion varies with square of the velocity. That is PV is equal to V square by 2G. So already in figure above figure it is already understand I think. Here, this is S. So here is static pressure. This is the velocity pressure. Well, this is the actual difference between these two. Right. Total pressure. This is the algebraic sum of the PS and PV. So pressure, velocity pressure, as well as static pressure, and they get the total pressure. Fan pressure of ventilation pressure. It is a difference of pressures between the mean total pressure of air leaving the fan and the mean total pressure of air entering the fan. So this is the what is the fan pressure? It is a difference of pressure between the mean total pressure or leaving of a fan and the mean total pressure of air entering to the fan. Therefore, if the fan is installed at the surface of this ventilating pressure, is the difference between the atmosphere pressure and total pressure in the fan drift. Measurement of ventilating pressure. The total pressure or ventilating pressure is measured by a facing tube that is with the open end of the tube facing upstream side of air current as shown in the at E in the figure. The static pressure PS may be measured in several ways of YouTube gang having one leg exposed to the atmosphere and other in the fan drift as shown in the A, B and C. Measurement of ventilation pressures. At A, the tube projects into the drift at right angle to the direction of airflow and is provided with a thin sharp edge of the flat disc. At C is shown in the hooked tube sealed at the end point and provided with the four small holes. All these three methods giving the reasonably accurate results. So here I showing the what is the indication YouTube and various method of measuring of air pressures. This is one method A by putting the uh, that Pitot tube. There is one method. This is the air current is going on. This is another method. This is one method to know the static pressure. So this is another method to see the YouTube various methods for the measuring air pressures. So what is the A, what is the B, what's here given here. So at A, two project the drift at the right angle to the direction of airflow and provide the thin sharp edge of the flat disc. At C, show the hooked tube sealed at the point and provide with four small holes. All these three methods give reasonable accurate results. Measurement of ventilation pressures. On the other hand, a plan-ended tube like a D invariably gives incorrect results. Though the total pressure is measured correctly by facing tube at E. If this is pressure that must always be used in calculating the HP, the air or when determining the efficiency of the fan. The water gauge produced by the fans in our minds is small, varying between the 25 mm and 150 mm. Very small water gauge, as in the case of underground auxiliary fans or booster fans, is measured by YouTube with inclined limbs. Necessary corrections may be applied to convert the observed inclined water gauge reading into the vertical water gauge reading. Measurement of the ventilating pressures. For the measurement of water gauge smaller than the 50 mm, an inclined water gauge known as inclined manometer is generally used. The readings is converted into equivalent to vertical water gauge as follows. A vertical water gauge equal to 1, that is a L sin alpha, where alpha is the angle inclination of the horizontal inclined reading of the manometer. Measurement of ventilation pressures. A manometer can be made more sensitive by using a lighter liquid such as alcohol instead of water. Vertical water gauge, that is a sin alpha into multiplied to specific gravity. Similarly, test include manometer. Measurement of ventilating pressure. The inclination of the water gauge is conveniently adjusted to 5 degrees 44 um, seconds as the sine of angle of 0.1. Inclined water body can be read up to 0.1 mm and is already well liquidated in earlier slide also. Pitot tube. A pitot tube is a device which can be used to measure the static pressure, the velocity pressure or the total pressure. The principle involved in shown at one leg is utilized to obtain the static pressure and other is obtain the total pressure. The difference with the limbs U tube gives the velocity pressure. Already above slide you see that figure. From that one you can understand easily. Yes, this is a yes. This principle is working like manometer. Right? This is the included manometer principles to work there. Then Pitot tube. That is the principles I am showing here. So static pressure tube and as well as total pressure tube. That will be getting. Yes, this is the correct total pressure and static pressure. Pressure transducer. Here static stratification point pressures. The H is the difference between these two. Simple Pitot tube, Pitot static tube. Air flow, 90 degree of difference with the airflow is there. Total pressure, static pressure and the dynamic pressure. Then, if the velocity pressure of air at any point has to be measured, the two limbs shown at F should be near to each other in a Pitot tube as shown in figure. The inner tube is connected in an equal and one leg of the water gauge and subject to total pressure. The outer tube is sealed at the end but is indicated with the 7 holes. It is connected to by a nipple end to the other leg of the water gauge. An instrument is placed in the airway so as to face their air current. The relation between the observed water gauge and the velocity air is given by the following equation. So this is generalized equation for the Pitot tube is concerned. V is the velocity of air in meter per second and water pressure in mm water gauge, density of the in kg for metric cube. Pitot tube should be used in conjunction with the sensitive inclination manometer. Precautions for accurate work. Pressure survey should not be carried out when the atmospheric pressure is fluctuating. Inclination of gauge must be accurately determined and maintained by the accurate level in the gauge and tube method. Open end of the rubber tubes attached hose pipes and must be installed. Good tubes should be ensure reading of the static pressure. Pressure surveying should be done when the mine is idle. So that is very important. Pressure survey should be so when with these precautions. So when the surveying going on, What are the precautions you have to take? That is a very important. So first, here you given pressure survey should be cannot carried out when the atmosphere pressure is fluctuating. So that is also very important. So that should be controlled. Otherwise, the reading will be all will be wrong reading will be coming out. Inclination of the gauge must be accurately determined and maintained by accuracy level is a gauge and tube method. Open-end rubber tube attached to the hose pipes must be instilled air. Hook tube should be used to ensure reading of the static pressure. Precautions for the accurate work. Pressure survey should be done when the mine is idle. Ventilation conditions maintained as steadily as possible during pressure surveying. The fan should be kept running at a constant speed. All doors, regulators, and other ventilation devices should be remain undisturbed. Check the water gauge reading should be taken at separation doors whenever possible. Blockage of inside of the hose to be checked. Quantity survey. Uh, Ascertain a distribution of air in the main roads, ventilation district, and at the working phases that locate leakage between the intake and return. That is a basic, already the basic object of the. So quantity of air passing per minute at a place is given by the formula. So this is the one method of measuring quantity survey. So that is generalized formula is Q is equal to area into velocity. So meter cube per minute. So Q is a quantity of air, A is the area, E is the velocity. So instrument used for measuring air velocity, anemometer, velometer, Pitot tube, smoke or dust method. Mostly velometer, anemometers are used. Smoke is also sometimes using the for a quantity of for a determination of the quantity. Smoke or dust method. In determining the velocity of air by this method, a length of the airway PQ is selected and uniform air is the windward end. Two men are stationary at P and Q respectively, both having stopwatch with the second pointers like smoke or dust. A quantity of smoke or fine dust is released at P and the time is second required for its travel to Q is careful noted. Suppose time 40 second, the distance is 100 meter. So it will be simply velocity is equal 100 by 40, 2.6. So that is showing here. The air is dust, the dust is smoke dust is applied here. So here collected, this length will be measured, fixed. So what is we know the length is known as well as distance is known, so that the traveling time will be calculated. So distance by traveling time equal to, so the velocity will be get. This is a simple method, uh, generalized procedure for the smoke or dust method. Anemometer. It is an instrument to determine the distance traveled by air as a given time and used where the air velocity are between 60 meters per minute and 100 meters per minute. One type of anemometer is shown in the figure. It consists of small fan having a vanes of the 40 degrees and 50 degrees to direction of the airflow. The travel air rotates the vanes and through gearing arrangement, the points of the on the dial anemometer record the distance traveled. There are usual one large and three to four small inner dials. A little practice is required to intake reading of the instrument. The gears of the anemometer are engaged and disengaged by clutch. Then, when the using instrument in underground roadway, it should be held away from the body of observer. So it should be away from the instead of, because his portion should be away from that long distance. Plane of rotation of the vanes should be as near normal direction of the airflow. Determination of velocity of air stopwatch is essential in connection with the anemometer. The instrument can be held at the end of the stick to avoid obstruction by body of the observer. To determine the average velocity of the air in a roadway, note the reading of the pointer of the instrument in a declutched position, hold it away from the body. Keep a stopwatch, read at a hand and the desired moment. Set the stopwatch in the motion and simultaneously engage the gear of the anemometer by the clutch arrangement. The instrument now records the distance traveled by the air. The instrument is moved throughout the cross section of the roadway, covered all the parts of the roadways. After 3 or 4 minutes, declutch the instrument. The simultaneously stop the stopwatch, uh, take the reading. The difference indicate the distance traveled by the air in time recorded by the stopwatch. The average velocity of air is then calculated. In some models of anemometer, the pointers on all dials can be brought to zero by operation of lever before using the instrument. The places where the average velocity of air has to be measured should be selected on the following consideration. The roadway should have nearly uniform cross section of nearly 15 meters on either side and it should be straight. The cross section should be such that it is a area can be easily calculated. It should be away from bends, junctions, and places. Have suddenly changes in cross section and free from the destruction. Another is velorimeter. The velorimeter is an instrument which directly indicate the air velocity in meters per second at any point of observation in an underground mine. To find the average velocity, the spot reading should be taken at a number of equal spaced points over the cross section of the roadway, and the average value of the uh, should be then be calculated. So this is a velorimeter. Figure shows the RF type of the velorimeter, usually marked with the two scales. The lower scale reading 100 meter to 100 meter per minute, and the upper scale is reading the 100 meter to 100 meter per minute. The instrument is for swinging gate type, having inlet and outlet office. Air passes the meter from the left to right deflects the vanes and also the pointer attached to by an amount of direct proportional to the air velocity. The velorimeter can be used in any position and even when held upside down so that the reading can be taken of air velocity in the awkward situation. The velorimeter is sensitive to low velocity below the range of the anemometer. It can be therefore be used for detecting the leakage also. So, certain quantity of airflows are necessary to choose suitable place in the airway to measure it to cross-sectional areas. Uh, Smoke method, stopwatch, take pocket book, and pencils. These are required instruments. The position of the place should be three selected in the airway where the area is easily measurable, surface are smooth, and where the section is straight and uniform for some distance on either side. Measurement of area. There are should be careful measures and calculated. The method of calculation would depending on the shape of the airway. By using the anemometer or velorimeter, of average area velocity is obtained. While measuring the velocity with the help of the anemometer, care should be taken that all the parts of the cross section of the roadway should be covered. By multiplying the cross section area with the average velocity, the quantity of air flow in cubic meters per minute can be obtained. Q is equal to A into V. That is important. The quantity of airflow or cross section area of the airway in square meters, velocity of the air meter. If the airway is a regular geometrical shape, its area of the cross section can be calculated by measuring the relevant dimensions by means of a tape. If any airway is irregular shape, then the caravans of sunflowers or profile graph or photographic method may be used with which records the accurate profile of the roadway or reduced scale area which is measured by the planimeter and multiple area by the suitable constant. Sometimes the area is suitably measured by area integers area meter which measures the area of directly one operations. The sunflower instrument consists of the graduated arms of the variable length which can be rotated in the vertical plane. The gradation read the square of the radial measurements of the roadway side which are measured at an in equal angle interval through the media from the graded vertical circle. Those the area of the roadway, sum of the squares of the radial distance. Where n is equal number of equal angular intervals, the air velocity may be measured with the anemometer, the range of 60 meters to 900 meters. During measurement, the velocity in airway, the observer should be move the instrument slowly over the area of horizontal or vertical. This is the how to determine the quantity of airflow in the mine road is concerned. Place at which area measured in should be taken. That is a very also one precautions taken in every mine. Main intake and the main return airway of air seam section near the possible the entrance of the mine. That is the first point. From where to you collect the samples. In every split, in where first main intake and return, and also every split as near as possible to the point at which the split commences. In every ventilating district, as near as practicable to the point where the air subdivided at the end of the split, and also where it is entering the first working place. At any other place underground where RIM may be regional inspector of mines, uh, who is suggested to take this place, that place you have to go through. That is a regional inspector of mines can be chosen. This is a pro forma. So method of recording results, the place of measurement and area of the square meters, measured velocity in meters per minute, velocity corrections, quantity of air in cubic meters and remorse. This is a generalized pro forma for the standardized recording uh, put into the matter. So ventilation efficiency coefficient for each split should be calculated and shown in the book. A line diagram should be prepared showing the scores, ventilation and relevant quantity of air to fill this. So with this, I hope you are getting to understanding the ventilation survey. So most of the in a ventilation survey is concerned, there is a basic points are the uh, quantity is and pressure survey. These two are a major objective. I hope you are able to understand the what are the instruments, what are the instruments you are using, and what are the conditions of ventilation conduct, and also the instrumentation functions, the principles, where to location for a pressure content quantity measurements. I hope that you are enjoyed today class. So I have given some questionnaires regarding the complete examination purpose. There is the objectives for each questions. See the one by one. You able to answer it afterwards. As per CMR, presently our CMR is a regulation is completed. Presently, you are using 2000 regulation 17 presently using. The quantity of air going down the mine has to measured once in 30 days in a degree one gas mass. Anemometer used measurement of the velocity of the air. Quantity of airflow through mine air vapor given formula is Q is equal to V into A meter per second. These are the expected questions from their examinations point of view. Pressure exerted by the fluid, the virtue of its motion is called the velocity pressure. The algebraic sum of the static pressure and velocity pressure is called total pressure. Another barometer work on the principle of Boyle's law. The Pitot tube is used in conjunction with the sensitive inclined barometer. These are the one different type of objective questions can be made. And another last question. The survey carry out the investigation of the ventilation system of mine and find out the adequacy of the ventilation system is called the ventilation. This is actually a topic also. The survey carried out to investigation to the ventilation system of mine find out the adequacy of the ventilation system is called the ventilation survey. That is the basic meaning of the ventilation survey. So you have to maintain adequacy of the system. So this is one objective question. The surveying involved to measurement of air velocity and quantity of air flowing in various parts of the mine is called the quantity survey. So with this, I am going to conclude in the today lecture. Please go through the textbook, standard textbooks and read for more details to understanding purpose. Most of these instruments are physics related instruments that is based on the pressure and quantity. Simple formulas with the instruments. Your analyzing is going on. Thank you. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.